When it comes to Jalen Milroe, does the Buchner stop here?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. I'll be telling you about Jace Medical here in just a little bit. But for right now, Jimmy, the rumor mill has cranked up to 11 for Spinal Tap fans, and it sounds like the possibility of Ty Buchner starting for the University of Alabama against South Florida University or the University of South Florida, I don't know which one it is becoming more
USF,
and more,
University of South Florida,
becoming more and more a reality. And if that's the case, there is a lot to break down. But for the moment, let's just go with the rumor that Buchner will start. On its surface, what does that mean to you?
A lot. Like you said, it's Am I muted? Oh, okay.
I just muted you because I'm stupid. I didn't mean to. I meant to mute me, and I muted you.
That was bound to happen. In all the episodes, that was bound to happen at some point, right? Where you mute me instead of muting yourself.
I swear, I meant to mute me, and
I feel like I feel honored. I feel honored, actually.
God dang it. And it was going so well.
except for Jalen.
I know.
although, it's a rumor. It's out there. I certainly can believe it. I'm not surprised if that's the case, but let's say it happens and Buchner starts, or Buchner plays early and substantially. What does it mean for first of all, the first concern has to be the football team. Is this good for the football team? The answer to that is maybe. Here's my thing is a couple of words of warning. Buchner didn't beat out Milroe for the job in camp. I mean, Milroe won the job by outperforming Tyler Buchner in fall camp and in the scrimmages and so forth. Buchner would be winning the job because Milroe hasn't played well enough in the games to give the coaches confidence that he's the guy all season. They want, if they're going with Buchner, it's we lack some confidence here in QB1, so let's give QB2 a shot. Secondly, Buchner has played. He came into the season actually more experienced than Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe had 60 career pass attempts going into the season. Buchner had 120. Buchner started a game against Ohio State. He started a bowl game and won MVP of the bowl game. I mean, so he's played. He's played okay when he's played at times. Sometimes it hasn't been good at all. Weirdly, the same things people get frustrated with over Milroe, Buchner also does. Buchner throws picks. In fact, he won the Gator Bowl MVP, and yet threw 3 interceptions in that game, not 2. They got they got the sirens blaring for Milroe. Buchner threw 3 picks the last game he started. So we'll see. There's no certainty for anyone out there that's like, oh, here he comes to the rescue. Everything will be great now. You're just being optimistic and hopeful. And it could be proven correct. I say this all the time. Buchner's a good prospect. He was a national top 12 type prospect. Chose Notre Dame over a lot of big schools. Smart kid. His problem really is not playing a lot of football, and that can't be helped. He played his senior year of high school in California. They didn't play football in California during COVID. So Buchner did not play football at all during his 12th grade season. And then he comes to Notre Dame, and he's the backup. So he plays a little as the backup to Jack Cohn. Remember that guy? Buchner was the backup to Jack Cohn, and he played some as a traditional backup garbage time type thing. And then they put in some RPO packages for him because he's an athlete. So that's what he did in 2021. In 2022, he was supposed to be the starter, but then got injured and lost for the season in game 2 and wasn't able to return injury-wise until the bowl game, which he started and won MVP. But that's Buchner's whole last 3 years in a nutshell. And as you noticed in there, Luke, there's not a lot of football in there in 3 years. So I think Tyler Buchner's going to be a good player. He just needs experience. And apparently he might start getting that as soon as this weekend. Now we'll have a lot of listeners, Luke, that don't know much about him. Here's a couple things for people to know about Tyler.
Stop on that, because we're really going to get into Tyler Buchner in the second segment. Because I don't want you to use all your good info right now. Okay, so a couple of things that I take out of that. The COVID info is great because it illustrates the point that, wow, you can say, hey, he throws as many interceptions as or as interception prone as Milroe is. I think the fact that he has sort of had some time off of football, maybe you can at least whisk that away. Then the other thing that concerns me, though, is, okay, and this is a horrible way to think, but Buchner's already been hurt once for a long period of time. Now what if he gets hurt? Do you go assuming Buchner is the starter, which again could very well happen. If he is the starter and he gets hurt, do you go to Ty Simpson? My guess is yes.
Yeah, I guess too. That would be my guess. I think if things don't work with Buchner and he has to come out for performance or for injury this week or next, they would go to Ty Simpson. That's a guess. We don't know. They don't send us the memos. We're even guessing to some degree about Buchner this weekend and about how entrenched he might be in the plans. That's a guess on our part too. We don't get the memos. We don't get to go to practice. So, I think Ty's next. I mean, this is the way I'm looking at it. And hey, if I'm wrong, feel free to like me up in the comments. A lot of you all enjoy doing that. But my guess would be, Luke, we see Tyler Buchner next. And then if that doesn't go right or he gets hurt, then we see Ty Simpson. And if he gets hurt or that doesn't go right, then we see Dylan Lonergan. I mean, that's the way I don't believe they're going to go back to Milroe. That could be wrong. And it's different than what Jimmy would do. I'm predicting what the staff does. I'm not saying what I would do. I mean, myself, if Buchner got hurt this weekend, I would go back to Milroe because we play Ole Miss next week. And, I'm not against Buchner getting the Ole Miss start if he plays against South Florida and does really well. But I would be really worried about, let's say Buchner gets hurt in the fourth quarter. I don't know that I want Ty's first playing time at all to be the start against Ole Miss. But
and a point about that.
Might be the case.
See, here's the thing. Okay, because Buchner hadn't really played the first 2 games, I know he had some garbage time against MTSU, but because he really hadn't played yet, if he were to get what I'm saying is he would have to play later in the game against South Florida is what I think, to get him as much experience as possible. Like you can't just do, okay, Alabama's up 45-0 after 2.5 quarters. Let's put the next guy up. You're in a bit of a pickle, of a dilemma, of an enigma, because you've got, do you keep playing the guy who doesn't have much experience, or do you put in the backup who you may need if the guy with not much experience gets hurt? So it is, Alabama's in a bit of a pickle. I mean, they just are. And there's no other way to say it. And there's a lot of games coming up that are incredibly winnable and typically winnable under Saban, but now they look a lot more losable than they ever have before. So, this episode is brought to you by Jase Case is what I should have said. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jace Medical offers the Jase Case. The Jase Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you a peace of mind so that you're not just hoping that you have access to medication in an emergency. That is so important. Look, and we've all seen now supply chain chokeholds, COVID shutdowns, whatever. You want to be prepared for the unexpected. Jace Medical makes sure you have the medication you need in hand. Jase Medical is simple. They handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. Don't get caught unprepared. Save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com, promo code LOCKEDON. You need to go check them out. Look, just go check them out. I just want you to give it a whirl. You don't have to buy anything if you don't want to, but go check out the website, jasemedical.com. I think you'll be very, very surprised, and this will give you some peace of mind, and you'll be incredibly surprised and pleasantly surprised how inexpensive this is. I think this will really begin to turn some heads, and I think you guys will like this, and we really appreciate their being a sponsor. Jimmy, the rest of the week, we're going to have our prediction show, obviously, probably talk a little high school football at some point. That may just be me because Jimmy's going on vacay here very shortly. But now I want to get to know Ty Buchner a little bit more. Yeah. I'm going to put a graphic up here, just his stats from his time at Notre Dame. He was 46 of 83 for 652 yards and 7 total TDs. Oddly, 4 TDs rushing, 3 TDs passing. All those numbers look eerily similar to one Jalen Milroe in one way or another. I think here's the catch, because I also saw some information about Milroe and how many deep passes he's attempted and how many he's completed, and like how that's, like better than Bryce Young or whatever. A couple of things I'd say about that. Bryce Young, if Bryce Young had Williamson, J-Mo, for an extra year, I think Bryce Young would be throwing it deep a lot more. And at the same time, when I think about Milroe and I think about the deep passes, that's fine. We hit some deep passes. I'm worried about hitting some intermediate passes right now. I'm worried about hitting some short passes. I'm worried about hitting a wheel route that's wide open. That's what I'm worried about. Can Buchner do those things? And if he can, I'm willing to sacrifice the deep ball for now. I know he doesn't have the arm. I know Buchner doesn't have the arm Milroe does. I know that. Right. And again, I think we should go on record saying until this morning, I felt like Milroe would probably be the starter. I felt it was an 80-20. I'm going to say it's at best 50-50. And so that's why we're really harping on Buchner right now, not because we're anti-Milroe. We're not anti-Milroe. If he starts, we're pulling for him. But because we think this is what very well could happen, we think everybody should be more aware of what Ty Buchner brings to the table. So I know Buchner is more athletic than a lot of people believe, but he's certainly not the athlete Milroe is. He certainly doesn't have the arm Milroe does. But Jimmy, can you tell us if Milroe is a lot better at these intermediate and short passes? And does he make overall better decisions?
That is to be seen. I mean, in the sense that you brought up that his numbers are similar to Milroe's, and I would say there are a lot of similarities in terms of being, let's be honest, let's just use the term turnover prone. Buchner has more interceptions than touchdowns. That's not a good number. Again, 3 interceptions in his last start against South Carolina. So the errors have been there. His passing numbers aren't spectacular. They're inconsistent, but he is an outstanding runner. Doesn't this sound familiar? He's really good with his feet. He is legitimately fast. This is not a, boy, this kid's pretty athletic for a quarterback. No. This kid is just athletic is all get out. There can be designed QB runs that would be effective with him. The RPO will be really effective with him. My guess, Luke, and I'm guessing here, I think he'll be better on the short and intermediate stuff than Milroe. I think he will be. I agree with you totally. He will not be as good as Milroe's deep ball, which was really good for a college quarterback, especially one that hasn't played very much. But yeah, I think Alabama would take a step back there, but maybe more efficient. And in the end, that's the job, right? I mean, look how efficient. I mean, I'm not comparing Tyler Buchner to Stetson Bennett, but look what Bennett was able to do efficiency-wise, and able to win every week. And that's what Alabama needs. So, hey, look, in the end, I'm going to trust the coach's guy. I really am. And I might not say that when we have our next head coach, but I'm going to say it when Nick Saban is the head coach. I mean, whatever Saban wants, whether Milroe is the quarterback, fine. If he's deciding to go with Buchner, fine. I just have some confidence that the greatest of all time is making the right decision for the football team. But the rumors are out there, and we'll see. We'll see Saturday. There's a rain forecast Saturday for South Florida, so rain in the forecast. You're muted this time. I was muted. Now you're muted.
How do I do the 2-for-1 mute?
Maybe everyone was fortunate. Maybe that wasn't a wise observation you were coming at us with. Maybe that was a I think we ought to look at Jaheim Otis at quarterback tape. That wouldn't have been very good.
And Ty Buchner at defensive line. No, but I think the rain forecast could be music to everybody's ears because it'll force us to run the ball more potentially. And I think everybody would be happy about that. And South Florida's defense is not good. They are 2 away from the bottom at the American Conference when it comes to defense. So they're not very good in that regard. I would suspect there'll be a big Bama contingent here. So it's going to be sort of like a home game. Here's what I find interesting. I just thought about this while you were talking. Okay, let's assume the weather's fine. Let's assume it rains. It doesn't matter. But that the quarterback plays well. If that quarterback is Milroe, people are going to be like, it's South Florida. They stink. If that quarterback is Buchner, everybody's going to say, why haven't we been starting this cat? So it's kind of funny now, but Alabama has sort of painted themselves into this corner. And again, and to an extent, Milroe has painted himself into this corner because while I think that people are being a little bit too hard on him, the other night he had the things that he does well, like run the ball. There were a few times where he could have gotten extra yards by cutting it inside, and he decided to go out of bounds. I understand quarterbacks, usually need to protect themselves or taught to protect themselves. But at the time, we needed Milroe to be the big super athlete he is. And he chose to go out of bounds versus inbounds. If that were Bryce Young, I think we'd all be like, yeah, we get it. But Milroe is like 2 Bryce Youngs is. So, yeah, I think this is not all Milroe hate from the coaching staff. Milroe has done this to himself to a degree, and it's not a great position for anybody to be in. Here's my hope, though, because if Buchner comes out and plays poorly, and then we do go to Ty Simpson, let's say he plays poorly, and then what do you do? Go to Lonergan? And if Alabama could be in a really bad spot, Jimmy, because no matter what, no matter how we're looking, we're always going to have the mark. We're always going to get people's best efforts. And so whatever quarterback it is, better be ready for that.
7 SEC games in a row after South Florida. So whoever it is needs to be ready to go. And then you get Ole Miss, and then you get 2 SEC road games. That game at A&M is going to be very difficult. If there is a fan out there that thinks that, that's Jimbo Fisher, that's Texas A&M, and thinks that's no big deal for Alabama, I wish I could have that type of mindset, but I do not have that mindset at all.
The stupid mindset.
I just to be that level of confident. What?
You got some really weird.
We lost last time we were there with Bryce. You got some weird fantasies. You're like, I wish I could be even dumber.
Yeah,
I wish I was.
Okay.
It's not easy to do.
When we come back, we're going to talk about if Buchner does start, what's going to be next for Jalen Milroe. But right now, I want to tell everybody about Gametime. That's the app that's going to save you so much stress. Buying tickets to your favorite event should not be stressful at all. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you or away from you if you're going somewhere. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you're going to have. Look, I saw a lot of people using the Gametime app for Texas, and it worked out well for them because those tickets were going high, but on Gametime, they got the deal of a lifetime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed, and it's going to save you a bunch of stress. That's go to Gametime, the Gametime app, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first order. Okay, Jimmy, let's play that game that I like to call tend like. Let's tend like Ty Buchner is going to start Saturday.
Okay.
And let's also tend like Ty Simpson will be the backup, which I think is very fair if Buchner were to start.
I agree.
What becomes of Jalen Milroe, in your opinion, both for the rest of this season and after this season?
Of course, we're guessing, and it's 2023. I would add a different answer. If you ask me that question, let's say 1983, what would happen to Milroe if that was the case? He'd be moved to another position. What would have happened in 2013, 30 years after that, 2013? He would be moved to the fourth quarterback and would be told to fight his way back up to number one. Now it's 2023. Now there's NIL. Now there is the transfer portal. So now I think Jalen Milroe, my best guess is he won't play again at Alabama. I think he will graduate and then he'll transfer in December. And I think his focus will be on graduating and transferring, frankly. And I get that it's 2023. It's not a shot. It's just reality of what modern managing the QB room is. And I think that's why this decision, if the decision is made to go with someone else, why it was so big. Why is that decision so big? Because it's kind of a forever decision with Jalen. It's not like, let's look at Buchner here and maybe give Buchner the Ole Miss start. No, this was a Jalen Milroe is going to play quarterback somewhere else decision. And hey, that's fine. I just want things to work out for the kid. I always appreciate him giving it a shot at Alabama and the good things he did here. And my guess is he'll be somewhere else. In terms of where, that's a wild guess. I tend to think kids go back home, but in NIL era, it could be anywhere. I would just urge Team Milroe to pick very carefully. It's kind of a soapbox thing with me. I think most kids don't choose well. I honestly think that. Most kids that are transferring, when they pick their next spot, most kids screw it up, in my opinion. I think
that's scary because the guy we're talking about starting did what? Transfer.
Well, I would, if I was Buchner's agent, I would have been hitting the brakes on Alabama too. Now he's ended up with an opportunity, so maybe he was smart after all. If this opportunity is presented to him this weekend, but I think most kids don't. I think most kids don't transfer solving the problem they want to solve. Like if Milroe's like, Jalen, if you want to be the starting quarterback, then go someplace where you will be the starter. Don't go to another big school where you're competing with two other national top 10 quarterbacks for the spot. You may not win it. I mean, go to some place where you will be the starter. And you can get, if your dream is the NFL, you can get there from anywhere if you earn it on the field. But you have to earn it on the field. You're not going to get there on the bench at I don't know, pick a place, Ohio State. Don't go there. I mean, and I'm just saying that they're going to have a bevy of top 10 quarterbacks to pick from. And Southern Cal will, and Oklahoma will, and Texas will. But there are places I would urge. I mean, I don't know. And the offense, go to some place where you are a good fit with what they do. And, I think a good option for him might be TCU.
Interesting.
I mean, in terms of TCU's I like that offense for him, and it's home, and it is the big time. I mean, me and you both can list off 3 or 4 TCU quarterbacks that got their NFL shot.
That's going to do it for today's podcast. Let's keep it rolling, see what turns up this week. I don't know necessarily that a starter will be announced until we see somebody try onto the field.
That's not how Nick rolls.
For right now, I would say Jimmy and I are 50-50 on who the starter is going to be this weekend. and that could change in either direction. I hate to be so Philip Marshall-y about this. Like, could Buchner start? Could Simpson start? Could Milroe start? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Of course, we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, all right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.